Hey guys, I don't think I've officially introduced myself. I'm Marshall, and today we'll be talking about candies we enjoyed as kids and have been banned for one reason or another. Without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Candy cigarettes. Back in the day, you could have a taste of rebellion in the form of candy cigarettes. The rowdier bunch put these sweets in their mouth with a mean look on their face and the slick attitude to match. These kid-friendly cigarettes, almost identical to real cigarettes in their appearance, were a source of amusement for good eggs and a source of liberation for bad noodles. The packaging looked exactly like a real cigarette box. Some of them even came in boxes that had actual cigarette brands like Marlboro, Camel, and Lucky Strike slapped on them. When you open a box, the smell of processed sugar hits your nose. The sticks inside really did resemble cigarettes, and they even had tips in an assortment of colors, pretending to be the glow of a lit cigarette. With the candy cigarette in hand, children would pretend to smoke, imitating the likes of James Dean and Fred Flintstone. Candy cigarette kids would put the stick between their fingers, bring it to their lips, and puff away just like Daddy does. But instead of real smoke, they would savor the sweet taste of the candy as it melted on their tongues. Candy cigarettes had a certain appeal to children for obvious reasons. They allowed kids to engage in imaginative role-playing, mimicking the behaviors of adults in a harmless way. But as time went on, parental concerns about the potential influence of candy cigarettes on children's perception of smoking led to their eventual banishment in candy stores. The aim was to discourage the association between candy and tobacco and protect young minds from potentially harmful influences. Kinder Surprise Eggs. Kinder Surprise Eggs were a smash hit among children before they were banned thanks to its combination of two things kids loved, candy and toys. Even more than that, these treats offer the element of surprise, making them a must-have in Mom's grocery run. When you get a Kinder Surprise Egg, you have to get through the colorful foil covering first. After unwrapping, you see a perfectly molded chocolate shell. At this point, you can decide to eat it right away or set it aside for after seeing what's inside. As your anticipation builds, you crack open the shell to find a small plastic capsule. It was the capsule that held the much-awaited surprise, a tiny toy or figurine. The joy of a Kinder Surprise Egg lay in the anticipation of which toy you're about to get. Each capsule housed a different toy, such as a car, animal figurine, or puzzle, fueling your excitement and curiosity. Children would flaunt their newfound treasures and sometimes trade with other Kinder Surprise Egg enthusiasts to expand their collections. But questions about child safety led to the banning of Kinder Surprise Eggs in some countries. The small toys and parts inside were choking hazards for young children. Governments and regulatory bodies took measures to prioritize child safety, enforcing strict regulations that led to the discontinuation of Kinder Surprise Eggs in certain regions. Despite the ban, Kinder Surprise Eggs remain one of the most sought-after candies in the world. Warheads. Oh boy, if you've ever had a warhead without embracing yourself, you know how intense the sourness can be on your taste buds. These treats gained a reputation for delivering quite the puckering experience. Still, you couldn't resist them. The bold and the daring would grab a Warheads candy and pop it into their mouths, ready for the intense sour sensation that awaited. As the candy touched their tongues, a burst of sourness would take over their entire mouth, making their eyes widen and their cheeks pucker, just like the cartoon head on the packaging. It wasn't a pretty sight, but it sure was a lot of fun. However, concerns arose regarding the high acidity levels of Warheads candies and their impact on oral health. It even burned a hole through one unlucky kid's tongue. Because of their danger, steps were taken to promote a healthier approach to sweets and snacks, leading to restrictions on the availability and consumption of Warheads candies. All of this sweet talk is giving me a toothache. If you're liking these little treats of nostalgia so far, please take a moment to give this video a like, and be sure to stick around till the end because our last confectionery is sure to give you a hankering. Now back to the video. Lollipipe. What's an even more terrible influence on the youth than candy cigarettes? That's right, Lollipipes. Just like candy cigarettes, Lollipipes were a gateway to a dangerous addiction. Only this time, smoking with the candy was actually possible. The Lollipipe candies gained traction not just with kids, but with adults too. Why, you ask? Because it was flame-proof. This meant that recreational smokers could use it like they would an actual pipe. So now you can see why these weren't all that good for children. But if you took away the negatives from the candy, Lollipipes were a delicious thing to look at and an even more delicious thing to eat. Available in cherry, strawberry, watermelon, or green apple, they became a kid-approved treat, a candy that offered a touch of novelty and a sense of fun. But as you would expect, concerns arose about its effect on children. While Lollipipes being banned was a disappointment to adults who enjoyed using the candies as intended, which was to eat it while smoking, the children come first, and leaving Lollipipes available in candy stores was too much of a risk. Toxic waste candy. If you're into slimy and sour stuff, toxic waste candy is the bomb. I know what you're thinking. Who would want to munch on something called toxic waste, right? But believe it or not, this stuff is like an explosion of sourness that kids can't get enough of. The toxic waste candy is packed in these little barrels that look like they're oozing slime. They even label it as toxic waste, hence the catchy name. It was a sour candy that really brings the pucker power, and boy, did they succeed. It's like the ultimate sour experience, way beyond what Warheads can offer. Or so they say. Each drum of toxic waste hooks you up with 16 assorted pieces of candy, with 5 different flavors in there: apple, black cherry, watermelon, lemon, and blue raspberry. You get a mix of them all. But here's the kicker: they're all sour. Seriously, this candy has this hard outer layer that's already sour, and when you bite through it, there's even more sourness waiting for you on the inside. Talk about sourception. But the extreme sourness took too much of a toll on children's health. High acidity levels in the candy, maybe even higher than Warheads, raised questions about potential damage to tooth enamel and other dental health issues. And so toxic waste candy was banned, restricting its availability and consumption. Nestle Magic Ball. If you're not old enough to remember the Nestle Magic Balls era, you must be young. These awesome candies hit the scene in the mid-90s. They were these hollow milk chocolate spheres, and get this, inside each one was a tiny toy that could be either a Disney or Pokemon character. It really lived up to its name. Kids of all ages went crazy for them, and you'd find Nestle Magic Balls in so many households across America. But in 1997, they vanished from store shelves, and it left a lot of kids and their parents wondering what the heck happened to those beloved Nestle Magic Balls. So, what happened? Back in October 1997, the Los Angeles Times reported on the whole Nestle Magic Ball situation. As it turns out, Nestle had to make the tough call to stop selling these delectable chocolate-covered plastic balls. It all came down to this old federal law from way back in 1938. Basically, this law banned the inclusion of non-nutritive objects inside candies. It was an unresolved technical and legal problem that Nestle couldn't work around. But here's where things get a bit more serious. There were incidents where kids supposedly choked on the little toys inside the balls. Naturally, this caused quite a ruckus and led to a lot of backlash against the candy and the company. So it's widely believed that these safety concerns were the actual reason why Nestle decided to discontinue the Magic Balls. Safety first, right? So which of these banned sweets do you remember indulging in? Did you remember? Did you share them with a special someone? Do tell us your story in the comment section below. And if you like this video, please consider subscribing to this channel. Thanks for joining us in this trip down memory lane.